Uh, Excellent. Thank you very much. So yeah, this is a wonderful opportunity to get to know you all, to talk to you a little bit about, yeah, I'm sure you're very familiar with the university, but this is a wonderful opportunity for you to get to know the city itself, why it's such a popular student city. And I think as well, Laura's insight, being a student from the Americas region who's come over to study here, what she's been doing, how and what she's done since, I think that's going to be really interesting for you. So first of all, I mean, Newcastle is my hometown. I've lived abroad in a couple of different countries, spent quite a lot of time abroad, and I'm really happy to be back home in Newcastle, I must say, and I'm really happy to be able to tell you all about my wonderful city. I know it's somewhere that you're going to love and cherish, and I know Thomas, amongst many other people who came to Newcastle, studied in Newcastle, and are still here. So I think that speaks for itself. I know you're going to have a fantastic time here in Newcastle. Where are we? Again, this is something that you may know, you may not, but let's just have a look. So we're in the northeast of England. We're right up there on the northeast coast. So you probably know this. We are a coastal city. We're only about 10-15 minutes away from the coastline. We're in the northeast of England. Now, it looks like we might be quite far away from London there, but as you may know, England is not a very big country, especially when we're comparing it with the United States or with Brazil, for example. England is not a very big country. You can get around the whole region, the whole country, really easily, used by a train, or you can hop up to Scotland as well. There's loads and loads of things to do, and there's lots of opportunities for you to travel around Europe as well. We actually have our own international airport, which is incredibly helpful for you all. So if you're traveling, you can go through London or through Paris or through Amsterdam and get a flight straight to Newcastle. It's a 20-minute metro journey, or get a taxi really quickly. Into our airport isn't very far from the city centre either. So we're really, really well connected up there, up here in the northeast. Let's talk about the city itself. So it is one of the best student cities in the UK, and I really hope I can give you plenty of reasons as to why. It's a very affordable place as well. So if you've ever been to London before, there's no denying it. I'm sure the Queen wouldn't even deny it. It's a very expensive place to live, is London. It really is, and it's very expensive to visit as well. Newcastle is significantly more affordable than London, significantly more affordable. That's something that's really really important to mention. You can get accommodation right in the city centre, right next to your campus for a really good deal, and it just would be very difficult to get something like that in London because it's a lot more expensive. So that's something that's really important to mention. It's extremely safe and friendly. People feel really comfortable. I'm sure Laura would talk about this. The people in Newcastle, I can say humbly, were very nice, were very friendly, very warm, very gentle, and very welcoming. So that's something that you'll really appreciate. There's loads and loads of things going on in terms of technology, manufacturing, innovation. And I think that's important as well. As if you move to the UK, maybe you want to stay here in the UK to work. And I would hate to think that the only place you could get a really good job is in London or Manchester, for example. That's not the case. There are some fantastic employment opportunities up here in Newcastle, a lot of great opportunities, loads of new startups, manufacturing companies, technology. So there's loads of opportunities up here. There's loads of things going on, which I'll talk to you about a little bit later on, but it's a compact city. I will show you some really cool photos later on too. We have about a population of about 300,000. So that might sound like a tiny little town compared to if you're from Boston or something like that. But it doesn't feel like that. There's so much to do. So it doesn't feel like a small town. It feels like a good sized city, loads to do, but it's nice and compact. You can walk around the city really easily. You know, that if you're in the city, there's no real need to use the public transport to get around or Ubers or anything like that. Most people can walk or even cycle. This is a nice one as well. Actually, we have some wonderful, really nice weather in Newcastle right now. Tomorrow, it's 17 degrees, which may not sound too much for you, but it's really nice, really pleasant. And I think that's another thing that people think of when they think of England as, oh, it rains all the time. And yes, maybe in some parts it does, but we actually get a lot less rain than some of the big capitals in Latin America. There are so many bars and restaurants, so much to do, so much cropping up, big chains, or lots of small franchise, small independent companies popping up, theaters, cinemas, got loads of parks. There's always big musical festivals going on, loads of sport. If you're into football, for example, or soccer, we have our team Newcastle United, which hopefully are going to stay in the Premier League. It's looking good, so you get to see top quality football matches. And the stadium is literally across the road from the campus, and you can get affordable tickets to see the games. So that's really, really impressive. Or if you want to try some new sports like cricket or rugby, we have those too. And again, we're close to nature. We have, I'll show you a little bit later on, we have some beautiful architecture and some lovely beaches as well. Like I said, there's loads going on. So one of the things that we have is the Great North Run. That's at the bottom right. That's the largest half marathon in the world. Not really for me. I don't think I'm built for that. But if you're interested, you could sign up for that. It's impressive that run in particular. We also have the Sunderland International Air Show on the top right. Loads of food festivals, loads of things going on outdoors. And if you're into live music, we have some incredible nightclubs, but also loads of concert venues as well. So just to name a few, Dua Lipa, I think, is performing later on this year. The Weeknd performing next year. Ellie Goulding as well. There's big names coming to Newcastle. Again, it's maybe a small city compared to where you're from, but we do get some big names and big events being hosted in Newcastle. So let's have a quick look around. We have Gray's Monument right in the city centre. If you're into tea, the Gray's Monument there, that was named after Earl Grey, who was briefly Prime Minister of England, and that the Earl Grey tea was a gift given to him. So if you're into Earl Grey tea, now you know a little bit more about where that came from. We have a wonderful beach, that's Long Sands Beach there. Again, it's about 50 minutes on the metro from the city centre. There's some wonderful beaches along our coastline. If you're into surfing, you have surfing classes most days. If you want to try fish and chips, I recommend there's a good few places down there for fish and chips. Back into the city centre, we have the river, the quayside. We'll have loads of wonderful, fantastic bridges. This one I really like because it tilts and boats can go underneath it, which is really cool. And that one just behind it, the green one, you may recognise that it looks a bit like the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And it was actually the same architect who designed this one. It's just a little bit smaller. And for example, the Sage is that silver building there. That's one of our mini concert venues. Jasmine Dean is one of my favorites. It's just down the road from me. I like to go there for walks. It's a big forest with loads of trees, loads of lovely green spaces, and some picturesque waterfalls as well. Just a little bit further afield, so leaving the city, we have loads of other options as well. So the northeast of England is a very historic place. I'm sure that you know a little bit about that. So we have castles all over the place. So there's loads and loads of opportunities for you to go and visit some historic castles, some wildlife. If you're a Harry Potter fan like myself, you may recognize this one at the bottom, Alnwick Castle. They filmed quite a lot of scenes from the first couple of Harry Potter movies. Particularly, you may remember the scene where Harry learns to fly. Well, that was filmed at that castle there. So if you're a Harry Potter fan like me, you'll really enjoy it there. I'm going to hand you back over to Thomas, who's going to talk to you about our city centre campus.
Thank you very much. So one of the really kind of great things about the university, and personally it was one of the things that I really loved when I was choosing where I wanted to study, is the fact that Newcastle truly does have a city centre campus. We kind of tick both boxes. So most of our teaching buildings are in one of two main places, which I'll show you on the map in a minute. But we're also really, really lucky that the campus is actually also in the city centre as well. So as you can see on the picture there, that is the heart of our campus. It's the oldest part of our campus. The Student Union building is the red brick building in the foreground, and in the rear of the photo you can see the building with the towers on top. That is the Armstrong building, which is where you would also have your graduation. Our history dates back to the 1830s. We were set up as a medical school. We used to be part of the Durham University, which some of you may have heard of, and from there we grew. We added a lot of engineering programs after that, and then we started to add in things like law, business, humanities, etc. If you go to the next slide, please. We're not just a building full of pretty old buildings, a campus full of pretty old buildings, though. Although obviously they are beautiful to walk around. We have a lot of modern buildings on our campus, and the one in the top right there is one of our newest buildings. It's called the Catalyst, and it's actually home to the National Centre for Data and the National Centre for Innovation. So those are two UK government-backed national centres of excellence, and they chose to host them on our campus there. And so they will have professionals working in things like data analytics and business analytics, but they also have students can use those buildings, and teachers and lecturers as well. Next slide, please. That building, the Catalyst, forms part of something called Newcastle Helix, which is a development between ourselves, Newcastle City Council, and private businesses. In total, once the entirety of Newcastle Helix is completed, there will be around $500 million US of investment put into that one site. It's one of the largest regeneration sites in the whole of the UK, and it's going to completely change that part of Newcastle. A lot of the buildings that you can see there have already been finished, but they are still building some of them as well. So the business school was the first one to open back quite a few years ago, but we do now have the Urban Sciences building, which is home to computer science, the Catalyst that I mentioned, and the Frederick Douglass building. For those of you familiar with US history, Frederick Douglass was a slave who came from the US over to the UK, and it was actually in Newcastle where a group of Quaker women raised enough money to be able to buy his freedom from his slave owner, and so his history is tied to the city, and that's why the building is named after him. There are also offices on there that are owned by private businesses, so it's great for students to be surrounded not only by other students, but also people who are working in industries that they may want to try and get jobs in the future. Next slide, please. This is the city from the sky, the heart of the city centre. There are obviously other areas that you might go to, but you can see here that everything's really well connected. So the river down at the bottom, the Tyne, that's the one that Andrew pointed out to you on the picture. And then you can see in the back of the photo is our main campus. And then just over to the left-hand side, right next to the football stadium, is the business school, and that forms part of the Newcastle Helix development. And then you have the central station there to the left of the screen. So you can see how everything is really well connected. And if you just go on to the next slide, it just gives you another kind of view of the city from a different angle. And so the bottom left and bottom right shapes, those are where the buildings, pretty much all of our teaching buildings are located. We do have some that are out of the city centre. We have a marine research facility at the coast, for example. We also own and operate two farms that are about 30 minutes away from the city, but for most students, that's where you'll be based, on one of those two locations there. And you can see in the bottom of the picture as well, there's lots of green spaces in Newcastle right next to our campus. So that's that is Lees's Park, you can see there, but just behind the campus to the left of just off to the left, we have another park called Exhibition Park, and that actually forms part of something called the Town Moor, which the Town Moor is actually bigger than Central Park. So it is a huge piece of green space that you guys will have really easy access to. And it's actually so big that it has its own herd of cows living on it, which is really cool. Next slide, please. Okay, so I think this is me. Is it still Andrew? Yeah. One of the really good things is that a lot of our accommodation is also on our campus or within a very short walk of campus. So not only will you be studying in the city, but you'll also be living in the city centre as well. And as Andrew said, this means you can get pretty much everywhere you need to on foot, which will save you a lot of money. We have a variety of choices of accommodation, both for our undergraduate students and our students who are looking at master's programs. All of our accommodation has private bedrooms as standard, so there is going to be no room sharing for any of you. But then depending on what budget you may have, and depending on the location you choose, you may be able to look at catered options, so which will include a meal plan that is only open to undergraduate students. Most students are self-catered, so they cook for themselves. Then there are options to have en suite, so private bathroom facilities or shared amongst Normally it's amongst 4 or 5 other people, so you're not sharing a bathroom with a huge number of other people. It still is only kind of the people that you live with. And then generally speaking, you'll also share some living space, like a TV sort of lounge area with, again, 4 or 5 other people. There are also private accommodation options available. So if you didn't want to live in one of our accommodation options, you could look at what else is available to you. And they're on the next slide, I think there is some suggestions of websites that you might want to take a look at. We are not recommending any of these to you. We're just saying that sort of this is where you could have a look if you wanted to. And there's a variety of different options available to you, from living in large purpose-built student accommodation with other students to things like renting a spare room from a private landlord, or renting even your own apartment as well if you wanted to. Not only is our campus a fantastic place for you to study and to live, we've also got fantastic facilities for your free time as well. So there's roughly 27,000 students studying at Newcastle. So there are a lot of students to get to know. And that means we have a lot of activities. We've got 200 different societies, over 60 different sports clubs. We're actually ranked top 10 in the UK for sports. So if you are good at a particular sport, then and you want to continue playing once you've either left high school or you've left your undergraduate college, university, then there's lots of opportunities for you to keep playing whilst you're at Newcastle. We've invested a lot recently in our sporting facilities, and some of those are still being built at the moment. So you guys probably will be the first cohort to actually be able to use them. And that includes our gym, our performance, strength and conditioning suite. And then slightly off campus, actually not that far away from where I live, there are also outdoor facilities for you to use as well. Next slide, please. These are just a choice of some of the societies that we have available. But like I said, there's 200 different societies, and if there isn't one that you can find, then you can also make your own society as well, which is actually something that I did when I was a student. Me and my friends who were all studying Chinese, we created an Anglo-Chinese society, and it still exists today as far as I'm aware. But you can see there's lots of other things. We've got salsa, we've got the Afro-Caribbean Society, Latin American Society, DJ Society. Anybody who's from North America, there isn't currently a North American or a US or Canadian society, but if you want to create one, then feel free. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Andrew now, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about the support and the well-being and the careers support that we offer.
Hello again. Thank you very much, Thomas. Yes, so let's talk about the support you're going to get from the university. So before you get here, you know, we've had open days. You probably know about the Uni Buddy system. By all means, have a look on the website if you have any specific questions. But for people from your course or from your country, then by all means speak to them. You do have support from our visa team, and of course, you've got support from us, the international office. There will normally always be an international welcome week where international students get together. We have lots of fun activities, loads of really nice events. So you get used to the city, to the university, and you get to meet people from all over the world. While you're studying, you will have a personal tutor to give you the support that you need. There'll be a buddy scheme, so you'll normally be paired up with someone who are already familiar with the university and the city, and they can help you out as well. We've got loads and loads of really cool resources. So we have 24-hour access to our libraries. So you might be one of those people who like to do their dissertation projects in the middle of the night. I'm not, but if you are one of those people, then you have that access there. And if you needed to, maybe you were working on a marketing pitch for an up and coming presentation at university, and you needed a space, then you could book out a space to prepare your session. We also have a language resource center. So if you want to learn more languages, we have loads of really cool facilities that you can use too. So, but if you've ever been to the UK before, feel free to pop in the chat. Tell me where you've been. That'll be really interesting to know where you've been and if you've been to the UK before. But I think there's something quite special about the UK. And I think I'm familiar with, I've worked with students for a good few years now. And I think when you get to the UK and you touch down in Heathrow Airport or Newcastle Airport and you get off the plane, and hang on a second, they're driving on the other side of the road. The money's different. I can drink water out of the tap. My hairdryer blew up when I plugged it in. The UK is quite a unique place. It's a very unique place. And maybe it's somewhere that you're not used to, or so maybe you're a little bit homesick, or maybe you're struggling with the way in which we write essays or the way in which we study in the UK. I think it's really important for you to know that you do have the support and guidance that you need there. So whether that's personal or academic, you do have quite a lot of support there. And we do have disability and specialist learning support for you too. We do have financial guidance and support. We have 24/7 campus security, so you'll always feel safe. And everything, we're actually based in that building there. So you can come along and say hello, and all the support that you're going to need is in one building right on the main campus. Now, this is something that's super important, and it would be great to, I'm assuming you will agree with me on this one, that so when you come to study a bachelor's, master's, PhD, whatever it is, you're doing that so that you can open more doors in the future, so that there are more opportunities for you to, to improve your career and things like that. So I think it's really important that you come to a university that's going to help you find a great job. And our university is one of the best in the UK, top 10 for graduate prospects. So we have a wonderful career service that are going to make sure you are super equipped to find your dream job for when you graduate from university. So there will be loads of support with your CVs and applications. We can prepare you for interviews. We can help you find, have a look at jobs. There will be opportunities for internships and short-term places. And if you were interested, say if you wanted to create your own company, we can actually give you some support and funding and help you apply for the entrepreneur's visa. So that's something that's really cool, really special if you're thinking of setting up your own business. And also we have the NCL Spark, so we can help you get in touch with past Newcastle University students and help you get really connected there. So I just want to quickly go over the scholarships that we have. So you can find all our scholarships there for undergraduate and postgraduate. Just to let you know that some of the scholarships that we have are still available. So please check those out. There's one in particular for postgrad students, which is worth up to 50%. So I definitely recommend you apply to that. And we also have lots of government funding options. So if you're from Latin America, then we have CONACYT, we have FUNED, FIDER, Colfuturo, MESIT, Pronabec, and we also get students from Chevening. And if you're from the USA or Canada, we have the US federal loan system and VA benefits, the Canada provincial and federal loan options as well. And we also have Marshall and Fulbright scholarships. So there's quite a lot of nice options to help you with to fund your studies. If you'd like to find out more, we have some really nice activities, campus, virtual activities, lots of campus tours, some really nice videos as well. And again, I definitely recommend you use UniBuddy if you have some really specific questions for someone on your course or someone from your home country. I definitely recommend you to use that platform. I'm now going to hand you over to Laura Bernal. I thank you very much, thank you very much, Laura, for joining us this evening. She's a former student from Newcastle University. I don't want to say any more. I want to let her tell you all about who she is and what she studied and her time in Newcastle, and maybe a little bit about what she's got on to after that. So I'm going to hand you over to Laura now. Thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you very much, Andrew and Thomas, for inviting me, and thank you everyone for being here. I just want to start with the scholarships and just encourage everyone to really apply. Thomas really encouraged me to apply to one of them, and I got it, and then I apply as well to Colfuturo. That's only in Colombia, but for anyone in Colombia here in the call, definitely take a look at Colfuturo. I'm from Bogota, so I know there is somebody in the call from Bogota, so if you want to chat afterwards, or anyone really, just feel free to reach out. So I studied in Newcastle University in 2018. I did a master's in innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. And yeah, next slide, please. Basically, for me, the experience was great, like great investment, honestly. Like at the beginning, I was kind of like, how do I fund this? And then, as I was saying, I got a lot of support, different scholarships, different things. And also there's one thing, and is that you can work part-time as part of your studies. And that was something that really helped me. So the university has a lot of different internships available. So it's just a matter of taking a look of what is it around. So I got an internship in the medical school, like doing some market research for the medical school. And it was very amazing because I met one really good friend. So I'll tell you more in a second, but next slide, please. Yeah, this is just to show you a little bit of a picture on graduation. You can see that there's people from all around the world. And that's something that I really want to highlight, because you don't only have a professional experience, but you also have a cultural experience, not only, you know, for being in the UK, but also for meeting people from all around the world. And that's incredible. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here are some highlights of my experience. So I want to start saying it is challenging. Like, it is definitely challenging. Andrew was saying before that the system changes, and yes, it really does. Like, there's a lot of essays, at least in the business school, that a lot of people weren't used to that. But also I want to highlight that although it is very challenging, you learn a lot and you get a lot of support for whatever you want to do. Like, really, it's incredible. Whatever you think of you want to do, there is something in the university to help you out. And it is not only in your current plans, but also in your future plans. So I got involved in a lot of different extracurricular courses, so leadership, and I got involved in some kind of like competitions with other universities. And Newcastle University definitely has a good reputation and a good standard. So it's really good, you know, kind of like to take advantage of that and learn as much as you can. Also, the city is very fun. Like, if you're somebody who likes to party, this city is the place to party. You know, like, it's great because you're kind of like in your professional zone, learning a lot from the university, but it's also very, very fun. There are a lot of restaurants and pubs, a lot of clubs, and also green areas. So I always say that Newcastle, it's small enough to get around walking and to save money in that way, but diverse enough so you can find anything you want, and there is a little bit of everything for everyone. And as Andrea and Thomas were saying before, the prices are much better than any other city in the UK, and that was something that really made me think about Newcastle, because he was kind of like the right combo of, okay, pricing, fun city, small enough, but also a really, really good university. Yeah, the university has an amazing infrastructure. So I think you already heard it from Thomas. Another thing is that whenever you're in the city, you see the presence of the campus all around. And that's also amazing. Just feel that you're in a city that breathes, you know, like you breathe the university all around. So it just has an interesting vibe. Yeah, as I was saying before, it's a interesting multicultural environment, lots of professional development opportunities, lots of support, the scholarships, as I was saying at the beginning, and it's a top university. So those are my highlights of the experience, and I'll show you a little bit of different pictures and things like that. So next slide, please. Right, yeah, I just made a lot of friends from all around the world, and that was incredible. So here I'm with people from Pakistan, Bahrain, the Netherlands, Germany, Nigeria, and we really became really good friends. And I think that's something unique that you have in the UK, and that's something unique that I found in Newcastle as well. As it is kind of like a compact place, it is very easy to get in touch with people and to really share. Next slide, please. Yeah, also, as I was mentioning before, the city is very fun. The beach is very, very close. So it's also great because, you know, like out of a random day, probably you want to study near the beach. So the beach actually, it's in a little town full of restaurants and cafes. So if you want to have like a study out day or something like that, it's amazing. I did it a couple of times. I would go to the beach and stay a little bit, and then I will go to a different cafe or restaurant and just kind of like write a dissertation or do something. So it is just very nice because you have different cities around as well that are very, very pretty. So Durham, York, are two examples. Edinburgh as well is very close and it's very beautiful. And London, it's only like 3 hours away by train. So it's something very interesting because, you know, like, although it is in the north, you're very well connected with different places that you really want to visit. So it's quite easy to travel. And if you're under 26, you can get a rail card and you'll get 30% off of trains. So I did that, and I'll really encourage you to do that as well. Next slide. Yeah, and then just the professional experience. So I took part in a competition for the international trade. So basically we got together with different universities, and we were a team for Newcastle University, and then we pitched an idea of how we wanted to export a product. And we got to meet the Minister for International Trade. So there is me and the rest of the group with him, Liam Fox, Dr. Liam Fox at the time. So this is just an example of things that you can end up doing at the university, which is something very cool that, you know, like puts your profile in a different level. Next slide, please. This is just some pictures of other examples that from my professional experience while I was at the university. So Anthony, so I met him in my internship at the medical school. So he's a doctor from Nigeria. And I just found a very interesting experience because it's getting to know people from other, you know, from other backgrounds. And with him, then we took part of on a research challenge, and that was aimed to just have multiculturality and different, you know, kind of like backgrounds of people. And it was great. Like you'll have a lot of different opportunities to get together with people from different faculties and just take part of different challenges. And yeah, that's really, really important as well for your professional career. And then the other picture, so I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but after graduation, I started up a business and I went to all the support of Newcastle University, which is, I'll encourage you to do that. If you really want to create a business, they guide you and give you resources, and you have an advisor that is taking you step by step by different, you know, kind of like methodologies and things that you should know. And Proto, it's a working space that a lot of big startups innovating in deep technologies and also kind of like virtual VR and AI and things like that, they are in that building. And I went one time as part of a tour with the university. And then after graduation, I actually managed to get a place in the building. And I got to kind of like share with the rest of the companies that were in the same building. So it was just a great experience because I found out about the building because of the university. And then because of all the support of the university, I actually got a place in the building to generate innovation, basically. So it was great. Next slide, please. Yeah, and then just a little bit after graduation. So as I was saying, it's very easy to elevate your profile while you're at the university if you get in touch with all the opportunities that you get. So I started a business after I graduated, which is called NetMinds. And then I just, you know, like it was incredible how from the knowledge that I acquired in the university and all the support that I had, I started getting a lot of exposure. So I started giving some talks on the topics that I learned at the university, and I even appear in a newspaper in India after a conference I gave. So I gave a conference on how to share ideas and how to encourage entrepreneurship. And for somebody that I met through different networks, you know, like people here and people there, people from the university, I got this conference and then I appeared in the newspaper, and I was like, this is just crazy, you know, like very crazy. And I'll also encourage you to, you know, kind of like take advantage of the networks of the university. So different students, so the university has this vibe for you to get in touch with other students. And that's how I got a lot of different opportunities. And currently I'm working at the University of Edinburgh. I manage an incubator for high growth businesses. So that's just to tell you that after I graduated, I'm still in the UK. I got a startup visa, and I just can say I had a great time in Newcastle. And yeah, I mean, you won't regret it. It's a great place. It's a great university, and you have amazing support. Like, yeah, you can ask Thomas and Andrew like how much they helped me when it was my time. So yeah, if anybody has any question, I'm happy to, you know, respond and help anybody.
Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you very much. Yeah, just I wanted to also add, yeah, so students in the UK get loads of really cool discounts. So when you get to the UK, when you get to the UK, make sure you use your student card wherever you go, because there's always some really nice, loads of nice options, bars, restaurants, shops, and things like that. So make sure you always have your student card with you. So I'm just going to play a little video for you.
Andrew, can I add something there? Sorry.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, also around Europe, like if you're traveling, for example, like in different places around Europe and you have your student card, you can get some discounts. And I should just add that traveling from the airport at Newcastle, it's great. Like, it's really great. Like, it's like, of course, you're not in London or in Edinburgh, which are, you know, like capitals, but it is definitely quite affordable and easy to travel from there. So I had the opportunity to travel during summer. And I went to Greece. I even went to Egypt, Azerbaijan, Armenia. And another thing that I did while I was at the university, I worked as a freelance as well. So yeah, definitely there are ways to travel and make advantage of that. And your student ID, not only in the UK, but also outside of the UK in Europe, you can get very cool discounts.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's something that's really good to mention. You can get around Europe really quickly. You know, within an hour or two, you can cross quite a few borders on when you're flying around Europe. And Newcastle Airport's great because it's nice and small, so you don't have to deal with the stress of being in a huge airport. It's really nice and small. You can even get the metro straight there, and it's a really nice airport. I think you'll really like it. So I'm going to just show you a little video just for now.
When you choose to come here, to Newcastle, you're choosing more than a course. You're choosing more than a university. You're choosing to live in the heart of our north, to live in a city as vibrant at night as it is by day, to be part of our community, where people matter above all things, to be connected to faraway cities and global destinations, and to grow amongst green spaces and striking places, historical secrets and modern masterpieces, amongst new friends and world experts. And we promise to be by your side as you become who you were born to be, as all those things you thought you would never do or couldn't do are taken in your stride. This is where your future starts. Your life will change, and so will the world.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much, everybody. And yeah, I think that's something that's really special to mention. No matter what happens, you will always, if you come to study in Newcastle, you will always remember Newcastle. Whatever it is you end up doing, maybe you end up staying here, or wherever you end up going in the world, you will always carry Newcastle around with you in your heart. I am absolutely sure of that. So yeah, I was just wondering if anybody has any questions, if Thomas would like to add anything else as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to add a couple, just one or two points. I know Andrew talked about our ranking as top 10 in the UK for graduate prospects. And just to put that into context for you, that does mean that we actually, we outrank the UCL, or University College London, King's College London, and the University of Oxford as well. So I know there are probably 3 universities that a lot of you will have heard of and that are famous all around the world. And actually our graduates have better prospects off the back of their degrees than students from those universities do. And the other thing was as well, I know Laura's graduation picture with her classmates, and also in that video, you may have noticed there was a statue. Some of you may have realized who the statue was of. It's of Martin Luther King Jr. You may be wondering why. It's because he was awarded an honorary degree by Newcastle back when he was still alive, and he actually came to the university to accept that degree, and he made a speech at his graduation ceremony, and we were actually the only university that he did that at during his lifetime. So there's another connection there between ourselves and the US civil rights movement. So our social justice is one of our key themes within the university, as well as other areas like the UN sustainable development goals as well. And we've actually just been ranked 15th in the world for our sustainability. So for students who are also keen on studying somewhere that has a positive impact on the world, not just through our teaching, then we are able to offer that as well. Nina did ask a question in the chat about the C word, COVID, and what will happen, what's happening right now and what's going to happen in the future. So right now, there are not many students on our campus, and we have some students who are coming on campus to use our specialist facilities, so engineering students and medical students in our labs, things like that. But most students currently are learning online, and actually a lot of them are still on their Easter vacations anyway. From middle of May, more students will be allowed to come back onto campus. Students are able to come and use things like the library now anyway, but more students will be allowed to come back onto campus just for more sort of social purposes. And then the university year will pretty much end in sort of late May, early June anyway. So most students won't have any in-person teaching for the rest of this year. The hope for September 2021, so for fall, is obviously that we will return to something more normal, but nobody wants to make any promises just yet. I think we've all seen how the virus and the situation can change very rapidly, and I don't think anyone wants to make any promises right now. But for those of you who haven't been following it, the vaccine rollout has been going really well here in the UK. We actually are only second in the world to Israel in terms of our rollout, in terms of larger countries. So we are ahead of where the US is, and we are ahead of Canada and all of Latin America as well, bar I think Chile, but obviously Chile has just unfortunately gone back into a lockdown. So we are doing really well, and the hope is that because of that, come June time, all limits on restrictions will be lifted, and there will be a lot, most things will be able to go ahead. So pubs, bars, restaurants, but also things like large concerts, football matches, etc. So I would recommend that you keep an eye on the news for the UK when it comes to that, because obviously that is going to be important for you guys to follow. But right now we don't have any confirmed answers yet about fall 2021. And I know Marius has said, will that include a fine art department? Will it be open? Yes, hopefully, because that does have specialist facilities and access to studio space and things like that. And obviously studios often don't get too crowded. So that's probably going to be one of the things that we'll be able to reopen. It's more likely things like large lectures where there's maybe 100, 200 students. That's the kind of thing where really we just don't know the answers to that kind of question just yet. So we've had some more questions coming in, which is great. So please keep posting them. I'm going to go through those and see if Laura or Andrew might like to answer any of them. So I'll take this one because it's accommodation, because I did this one. Have applications for accommodation open yet? Not just yet, no. Accommodation applications normally you should be emailed, so keep an eye on your emails, but they'll normally open towards the end of May. You need to apply for our accommodation before the end of June. If you're applying for a private accommodation, then that is something that you can normally do straight away. You can do that now if you want, but like I said, we're not recommending any private providers. Our accommodation, normally applications late May, early June, but you do need to apply before the end of June, but just keep an eye on your emails for updates about that. Sarah has asked, and Andrew, you might want to answer this. What are the next steps once we have accepted and confirmed our offer?
Yeah, so normally around late May, you'll be sent what is the CAS. Now, if you need a visa, that's sort of the next step. Basically, that's a confirmation that the university provides to the visa providers, explaining why you're coming to the UK, why you need a visa. So we have a visa team who will be able to help you with all of that, but that's not be the next step. And of course, if there are any deposit requirements, please make sure you check your offer to make sure that's paid, because we won't normally submit a CAS until the deposit's been, at least the deposit's been paid. So please keep an eye on that. But yeah, the next step would be the CAS, which is our confirmation of acceptance of studies, which would be sort of the beginning of the whole visa process. We do have a visa team, would be very, very happy to help you with that one.
Great. Ramon has asked, can you tell me about the requirements of Vice Chancellor scholarships? I think for those, they are different depending on where you're from. So I would say the best thing to do is either to go onto the funding page, or you can go through to our international page and then choose your country, and then there's a link there to the funding page, or you can email me or Andrew, depending if you're from the US and Canada or from Latin America, and we can send you the link. But there is different types of scholarships available, so it would depend on a variety of different things. So you need to have a bit more research into that. Nina has asked, does this include living in dorms or not on campus at all? Does that mean I presume that means with regards to COVID, Nina, and if I'm wrong, then please correct me, but we haven't closed any of our accommodation down during COVID. Anybody who needed to stay on campus or who wanted to stay on campus was allowed to stay on campus. We obviously had sort of extra precautions in place, and we had extra visits to make sure that students were okay, and things like that. And students were able, if they were in self-isolation, they were able to order groceries to their apartments and all that kind of stuff to make sure that they were okay. But nobody was told that they had to move off campus at any point, either March last year when we had the first lockdown, or sort of December, January onwards this year when we had the second lockdown. So that those weren't closed. So I hope that makes you feel a bit better. Megan's asked about when we hear back from accommodation. So you'll normally hear back late July, early August. It will take a little bit of time for them to sort out your accommodation. When you apply for accommodation, you normally list your preference of where you would like to stay, and then you'll hopefully be given one of those choices. So you need to name a few options rather than just applying for one accommodation option. And then you should hear back, sort of like I said, late July, early August, about which one you have been allocated. And I wouldn't worry too much about not being given a space. That's not likely to happen as long as you do meet that end of June deadline for applying. Fernando has asked regarding engineering, how much are labs and workshops being used compared to pre-pandemic? Is lab work about 10% of what used to be, 50% the same? I don't know exactly, Fernando. Unfortunately, I couldn't tell you that sort of specific breakdown. I think where labs need to be used, they're being used, but obviously in terms of capacity of people in the labs, that needs to be thought about. So it probably is somewhere, in terms of the number of people in the labs, it probably is somewhere around the 50%, if not less mark. But where students need to use labs because that's part of their learning, then that is still going ahead. So it's important to say that you're not going to lose out from learning important skills just because of the pandemic. Stale has asked, when would be a deadline to be sure I'd have enough funds to go? I mean, after the offer, before the CAS. So, I mean, the CAS that Andrew talked about there, I think he said sort of late May, June. I think that's normally the earliest we really ever start. There are students who don't proceed until that stage, until July, even August, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't recommend leaving it that late, but if you are worried about getting your funds together, or you're waiting on getting documents back to confirm your qualifications or something like that, then it doesn't have to be May, June time. It can be left until a little bit later. Laura, I don't know if you remember how long it took for you to get your visa back, but normally it's about 4 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I did all the paperwork late, so I had to pay for a quick visa, which was 2 weeks, but it is usually like a month.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And when did you apply for your visa? Do you remember?
When did I apply?
Yeah. Was it August?
Yeah, that
I
was
think
like
I
in
remember it being
August.
quite late, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
Don't do that, please. Otherwise, you'll be paying a lot for the visa. Don't do that. Yeah, I applied in August, so you should be applying around June, July to be safe.
Oh, I think there's also important to say, we haven't mentioned this throughout the presentation, but as part of your visa, you'll pay something called an immigration health surcharge, which is essentially a fee that enables you to access the National Health Service in the UK in the same way that me and Andrew as British passport holders, or Laura as a British resident now is able to, which means you don't need to pay for any extra medical insurance if you don't want to whilst you're here, and you'll be able to access doctors, hospitals, emergency services for free. There are very, very small charges for dentistry services, although we do have a dentistry school at the university, and if you want to have an appointment that has students at the appointment, then you can actually attend those for free. They're free of charge. And then things like prescription items, there is a very, very small charge. It's about £9 per prescription item, so not a lot at all. Will, this is probably a good question for you, Laura. Will has asked, do you have any tips on assimilating or adapting to British culture?
To be honest, I didn't have a big cultural shock. I think my biggest cultural shock was the accent. You know, like in different parts of the UK, you have a different accent, and if you are used to learning English, like the American accent, like it usually happens in South America, and if you're American, of course, the accent and kind of like the way of communicating might be a little bit different. Another thing, but it was not regarding the culture, it was more the climate. It's cold, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it is cold, but you just make sure that you're warm. So like if you're from South America, make sure that you're bringing warm clothes and that you're prepared for that. No, I know that for people from America, the food can be a little bit different. So just make sure that probably you look into the brands that you want to buy, and then probably just start finding kind of like some stores. It wasn't a problem for me, but I know that for some friends it was, because some products might be different. But no, I didn't have a big cultural shock, to be honest.
Okay, that's good. I mean, British people love to talk about the weather. So if you always talk about the weather, that's always a good start. Students like to talk about going out, drinking, music. I think it's pretty similar things to what most people in the Americas enjoy talking about, I think. So TV programs, things like that. So I think that there's a lot of common points that you can sort of find to talk to other students, and having a hobby, having things that you can talk to students about is also really helpful. So as we talked about, there's lots and lots of different societies, and that's always a good way to get to know new people as well. I think also Juan said imperial units, which yes, we do use some imperial units, but I think we're a little bit like Canada in that we kind of use a mixture of imperial and metric depending on what we're talking about. So we'll refer to some things like we'll refer to miles as miles, but we use Celsius, not Fahrenheit. And we might refer to some liquids in liters and others in pints. And some people might use pounds for weight and feet for height, but others might use kilos and meters. So unfortunately, you need to know both imperial and metric. So Latin Americans, you need to learn imperial. Americans, you need to learn metric, because there might be a combination of the two when you're talking to people, unfortunately. So Megan has asked, will there be any other significant fees outside of the tuition cost? I know in the US, we have tech fees, sustainability, etc. No, Megan, the tuition fee is the only fee that you pay apart from the visa fee. So that the tuition covers everything, and then you have obviously your accommodation and your food, etc. And so the only other fee that you would pay prior to getting here would be your visa, which is what Marius asked about. I think off the top of my head, Marius, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's about £900 in total for the visa and the health surcharge. But you can find that information out on the internet quite easily if you Google UK student fee cost.
It'll depend on the length, how long you're here for, because
yeah,
so
it will. Yeah, that's correct.
4 years, it'd be
more than that. Yeah, if I know Marius is a master's student, so if it's 1 year, then it will be cheaper. But if you are an undergraduate student coming for 3 or 4 years, then it will be more expensive because you pay for the full visa all at one go. Sarah has asked, as a student, do we have access to the gyms and facilities, or do we have to pay? You do have to pay, Sarah, but they are very competitive prices. They're not that expensive. If you are a member of a sports team, you normally get that included, I think, as far as I'm aware anyway. But there are also lots and lots of gyms in the city centre that are really reasonable. So I used to be a member of a gym in the city centre that was open 24 hours a day. And I think I paid £12 a month to use their facilities. I don't know, Laura, I don't know if you used the university gym, or you had some accommodation will even have a gym at the accommodation site. Some of the private accommodation will sometimes include a gym. One of them, which is sort of one of the most expensive ones in the city, called Vita, it also includes a personal trainer on certain days of the week. So if you want to live there and get a personal trainer, then even better. Bharati is asked, so to sum up, we would hear back on the visa details and accommodation selection options, etc. by early June, and we would hear back on the visa within a month max and accommodation by early August. So correct, you should hear back. The visa decision should take about a month, that's right. And accommodation, you should hear back by early August, that's correct. But you need to apply for your accommodation by early June. And depending on your situation, that depends on when you get your CAS document from our visa team. So the most important thing to do is make sure you fulfill your conditions of your offer as quickly as you can. So if we are waiting on documents from you and you get those documents, send them in straight away. And that way you can move forward in the process of applying. Kyle has asked, and it's probably a good one for you, Andrew. You might want to be sensitive about the answer, but Kyle has asked he's read about specific areas that are very popular, like Jesmond, Heaton. Are there any areas or neighborhoods to avoid? So I guess this kind of goes back to safety as well, but I don't know if you want to, or Andrew or Laura.
I wouldn't, there's none spring to mind that don't go there. I would just try, Jesmond and Heaton are good areas for students. Another one is Gosforth, that's quite close. Anywhere that's nice walking distance from the university should A, be comfortable and safe for you, and B, should be reasonably studenty. There's none that I could think of where I say, don't go there. I wouldn't want to do that. But so yes, I wouldn't say there's any, but yeah, Jesmond and Heaton are really good. Another one to add to the list is Sandyford. Sandyford is a 5-minute walk from the city centre, 10-minute walk from the university. That's another good one as well. And if you just type in student housing, Newcastle, you'll get even more options. So I don't know of any student accommodation in places that there shouldn't be. They're all idyllic locations for students who maybe are from different parts of the world. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But yeah, sticking with student accommodation that is made for students would be a good way to make sure you're in the right place.
I'd agree. And if something looks like, if you find something that's incredibly cheap, like way cheaper than anything else that you found, you might want to question why it's so cheap. It might be the quality is not great or something like that. But as Andrew said, Newcastle is a very safe city, so most areas are absolutely fine to live in, and I wouldn't class anywhere as sort of definitely wanting to avoid, do not go there, that type of thing. Brooke has asked about dual citizenship. Brooke, if you want to email me, just because you say you're an American, short answer to your question is no, but I can explain a little bit more if you want to email me. My email's just on the screen there. Megan's asked about laundry. Oh gosh, I haven't done laundry myself. You have a washing machine at home, so I can't remember. Laura, any help?
It depends on your student accommodation. So I think it was something like £1.50 or £1.70 or something like that. So depending on your accommodation, you'll have to do it with coins or you'll have to do it with a card. But yeah, the answer is it depends on your accommodation, but it's, you know, like it's not more than £2. But also you pay separate the laundry and the dryer. So just keep that in mind as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that's actually talking about that, like getting a card and stuff like that. As part of our International Welcome Week, which is an event, like a series of events that happen prior to the UK students normally arriving, we would talk you through things like opening a bank account in the UK, and so you are able to get things like a UK debit card, which means that you don't have to pay international like fund transfer fees or exchange rate fees every time you use your sort of credit card from back home. Our advice generally is to bring enough cash with you for kind of to cover your first couple of weeks. Either bring cash or obviously safer to bring a credit card, and then pretty much, I mean, especially after the pandemic, pretty much everywhere accepts credit card these days. Like it's amazing how many businesses have gone from only accepting cash to accepting cards now. But once you get here, you are able to then set up a UK bank account, and that will mean you'll normally have a bank account number and a debit card within about a week or so of arriving, and that way you can then transfer a bigger amount of money from back home, or if you're getting money from a loan or a sponsor, they can normally pay that directly into your bank account here in the UK. And it's the same with things like mobile phone as well. You can normally get one of those set up pretty quickly, but you might want to make sure that your phone does have international roaming, just so that for the first few days you are able to contact people. But there's lots of Wi-Fi hotspots. I mean, our entire campus is Wi-Fi enabled, but also lots of the city centre has Wi-Fi, and there's lots of cafes and things like that have free Wi-Fi as well. So you're never not connected to the internet, really. Bharati's asked quite a complex question about police clearance. I think it's probably best if you email that question to our visa team, which is just visa@ncl.ac.uk. I wouldn't want to attempt to answer that question. It's quite complicated. Any others? Will's asked how early everyone should arrive in the UK. Your visa will have a date on it when you're allowed to arrive in the UK. It's a month normally before your course start date, so that would put you somewhere around the middle to the end of August. But often your accommodation won't start until later than that. So unless you want to find like an Airbnb or something to cover you for that period between when your visa starts and when your accommodation starts, normally it's recommended to arrive on the day that your accommodation starts. So Laura, I think it's probably middle of September, something like that, when you came. Is that right?
Yeah, I came like the second week of September, almost the third week of September. But if you come the second week of September, that would be good.
Yeah. Jessica has asked, do you know when the term will start for 2021-22 school year? That is on our website, Jessica. Off the top of my head, I want to say that it's the 20th of September this year, which is normally, it's a week earlier than we normally start. So 20th of September, that should be on your offer letter that you've received. Will there be a Freshers Week for undergrad first years? I think that's to be confirmed, I think, at the moment. And will that be the same as International Welcome Week? No, International Welcome Week is normally the week before that. So International Welcome Week this year would probably start around the 15th or so of September. And that's when we offer our airport pickup service as well. So if you are living in university accommodation, we will take you from the airport, from Newcastle airport, to your accommodation. If you're not living in university accommodation, we'll take you from the airport to the city centre or somewhere that's convenient for you to then get a taxi or to walk to your accommodation. Sometimes though, if you arrive late at night, like on one of the last flights, we might just put you in a taxi anyway and just send you right straight to your accommodation and pay for that. Berkeley has asked about popular phone plans. I'm with Vodafone. Andrew?
I'm a 3-man.
You're with 3,
I'm 3.
Laura?
Yeah.
GiffGaff.
GiffGaff's quite a popular one.
Very
Popular
cheap,
with
yeah.
students, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
GiffGaff is one that's popular with students.
Yeah.
But again, I think if you Google, like, I think one of the things Laura mentioned, there's international students from all around the world at Newcastle. The UK itself is the world's second most popular destination for international students. If you guys Google a lot of this information, you'll find a lot of advice and information online as well. Like there are hundreds of thousands of international students who study in the UK every year. So there's lots of companies and services that are set up to support you guys. You're not going to be trying to do it on your own. You're not the first ones to have done it. Sorry, go on.
I think normally, I think GiffGaff are normally on campus.
Are they?
Yeah. They're normally handing out the SIM cards on campus.
They do SIM cards in accommodations. So like in your mailbox, you'll get a SIM. It's the easiest, and it costs like £12 a month. And you have data and minutes and all that. So, I mean, if you get that in your mailbox, just use it.
Fernando has asked if he's coming with his spouse, will they get access to the NHS? Yes, I believe so, as well, but just double check that. But yes, I believe so.
They would, but your spouse would also have to pay the IHS fee for their visa as well.
Yep. You can't come without paying that fee. It's not an optional fee. You have to pay for it, basically. Bharati's asked for the email address. I will find that for you. Berkeley's asked if my parents come to help with me, are there hotels near the university centre they can stay in? Yes, there are lots to choose from. There's also lots of Airbnbs as well. We've got variety of hotel chains and international ones as well as British ones. So yeah, there's loads to choose from. It is worth saying that the Great North Run, which Andrew mentioned, sometimes does fall around the start of when our term starts, so hotels may start to get booked up, so it might be worth just double checking availability, but there are lots of places to stay in the city, don't worry. It's one of the benefits of us being a city centre university, is that we have everything like that on our doorstep. And we've definitely, I know Alex said they've got to run. We have overrun by 15 minutes, but I'm more than happy to keep answering questions. So if you do need to leave the call, that's absolutely fine. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you found it useful. But I will continue to answer any more questions. And if Andrew and Laura are okay to stay, then
absolutely.
Then we'll continue reading. What's the master's students' average age? I think the majority of our master's students are straight out of university, so 21, 22, but I do know there are some who are slightly more mature. Laura, I don't know if you want to add in, Andrew, your experience of having worked with students previously from Mexico.
So I mean, most of the master students are young, like straight out from university. However, the people coming from Latin America is completely different. So we were like 5 from Latin America, and we were like I was the youngest and I was 25, and then there was people around their 30s. So the majority is going to be around 21, 22, 23. However, you might find people a little bit older.
Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah, my experience with Latin American students, they would tend to be a good few years after. They've probably done a bit of work since they graduated, and then maybe, yeah, late 20s, early 30s. But we have a huge range. We might get someone in their 40s, 50s, or straight out of university. That's kind of something that's quite special as well with the courses, is you've got a great diversity in terms of where people are from, but also their backgrounds, cultures, and also how old they are. So that's something that's quite special as well.
Bharati has asked about parents quarantining, if that's possible on campus. No, it won't be. They would have, if they have to quarantine, obviously we don't know what the rules will be, but if they have to quarantine, that would be something they would have to do. If it's mandatory, then it's in a specific UK government hotel. If it's not mandatory to do it in a hotel, but it is mandatory to still quarantine, then it would have to be in a private accommodation. So we wouldn't provide accommodation, not to parents. All right. Oh, there's one more question coming through. Where book should we expect to quarantine COVID test in terms of arrival? I really wouldn't want to say, Megan, about what September will look like, because if it's vastly different, I'll feel guilty. So the university will keep making updates as and when it makes decisions and as and when we have information. So it is important that we have your up-to-date email address and you do keep an eye on your emails. That's all I can say, really, because I wouldn't want to say, oh, it'll be fine, and then it's not. And equally, I wouldn't want to say, oh, it's going to be terrible, and then actually come September, things are a lot more normal. So I think it's just a case of keeping an eye on the news, keeping an eye on your inbox, seeing what information the university can give you. We will give you the information when we have it, and hopefully that will help you sort of make your decision about traveling over. Where can we find that information? So Nina, it should have been, you should get email updates, but I will also, there is also a page on our website about COVID-19, so I'll just pop that in the chat as well. And if anyone, just whilst I'm having a look at that, I don't know if there's any other questions. Anything else you want to add, Laura and Andrew?
No, I hope to see you all in Newcastle very soon. And just to, yeah, I think just to reiterate, I think Newcastle is a really special place, and I'm sure you can have a wonderful time here.
Absolutely.
And in general, the fact that you guys are willing to come, go abroad is something that's really special. Studying abroad is such a wonderful thing, and it adds so much to you who you are as a person in your CV. So it's wonderful, and I'm sure Newcastle is going to be a great place for you. That's all I'd like to say. I hope to see you all here soon. I don't know if Thomas or Laura would like to say any more.
No, I'll just encourage you to enjoy your time in Newcastle. It's really a great city, and as Thomas was saying before, you'll never forget it. Like, you always want to go back and have fun, and people's lovely. So yeah, just enjoy.
I've loved it so much that I moved here when I was 18 and I've not gone home. So I think I'm proof of the fact that it is a great place to study, and it is a really friendly city, and it is a great place for students as well. I mean, I'm no longer a student anymore, but I still love living here. But I do remember how amazing it was to be a student in the city as well. All right, I'm going to stop the recording there. So